I'm curious, what are some of the issues you've seen or some of the characteristics you've seen of engagement since COVID? Has anything changed since COVID has begun?
So pandemic has been a change agent. I call it the forcing function in a way we engage with one another. And the whole digital platforms have been, at the center of this pandemic in terms of engagement, and Zoom and video conferencing, for example, have become a primary way for many of us um, in the world, that in a way that we engage with our peers, prospect, customers, and even families, right? So there's challenges with that, and there's pros and cons to that. So looking at, for example, Zoom and video conferencing, what we're doing today, interestingly, it's exhausting in a way if you have 5 hours of it in a day, right? There was a Stanford study into Zoom fatigue that explained why video conferencing and video chatting is so tiring. And some of the key component of that was everyone staring at you, right? All the time. And the state of stress generated by excessive stretches of close-up eye contact is one of the key contributors to that. There was another factor at play compounding that stress was constant eye gaze, and that the size of the faces on your screen, right? The study suggested that interpersonal distance fundamentally influences emotion and behavior, and I think somebody staring at you on that big screen could have an impact. So I've seen I feel very exhausted after hours and hours of video conferencing that I wouldn't necessarily feel as tiring if it was an in-person meeting, right? There's also the distraction of video when we interact with each other online, right? Looking at differences in cognitive processing between audio communication and audio-visual communication, there's an increased cognitive load generated by video communication, and I think that has to do with it as well, right? We're overloaded. We're trying to read our audience. And the other funny part is staring back at yourself, right? Perhaps the strangest part of this whole modern video conferencing is, our reflection. We're constantly looking at ourselves in a mirror light, right? There was this conversation I had in another meeting where it was more of a conference, and one of the audiences was in dentistry, and they said there's an uptick in number of dentist visits since COVID because people are staring at themselves and now can see their teeth more often. And now there's an uptick in the cleaning and services there, just because it's like we're holding a mirror, walking through meeting rooms after meeting rooms, right? So there's this potential that could cause also self-evaluation that could potentially have negative effects as well. So that's where we're also exhausted. So post-COVID has really had an impact in the way we communicate digitally through Zoom, video conferencing, and those are some of the high-level results of how we interact with each other over Zoom.